The Tekes River originates on the territory of Kazakhstan. It collects glacial water from the summits of the Terskei Alatau, flows into China, accepts several tributaries there and comes back home under the name of Ili. Along its banks, the Ili River is lined with floodplain woods called Tugay. The dense thickets of Jida, purple willow and Asiatic poplar form unique and extremely fragile inundated ecosystems. The Ili accounts for 80% of Lake Balkhash drain, thus ensuring the water balance within the enormous Balkhash-Alakol basin. One can safely say that the quality of life of 4 million people residing in Almaty and Karaganda regions depends on the discharge and pollution of the Ili River. Futurologists claim that in the 21st century, clear water will be the most valuable natural resource. Thus, the Ili's destiny concerns not only scientists but also the public. Jetesu Alatau awards the Ili with several small mountain tributaries, large and small Usek and Borokudzia. The outdoor KZ team plans to ascend from the Ili River along its right bank tributary Borokudzia to the southern macro slope of the Jetesu Ridge. We've heard a lot about the mysterious Bell Valley. They say that amidst these mountain meadows and crystal clear streams, one can truly feel the breath of long-gone eras. So it's better to see one time than to hear 8,000 times. The multicolored clays of the Koybin Massif remind of Martian landscapes. The perfect completeness of details and line symmetry make you doubt that it's just a game played by blind elements, as it all looks so much like the result of the laborious work of a thoughtful artist. Science explains the fancy color pattern of the sedimentary strata by the remains of marine microorganisms that lived in the warm shallow gulfs of the Tethys Ocean 50 to 60 million years ago. The primary ocean is long gone, but the chemical elements that had been accumulated by its inhabitants for millions of years are still there to please the eye. The seabed rose and fell more than once. The rivers brought in bedrock fragments to valleys. Freshwater lagoons formed to host rough riparian tropical vegetation. Once upon a time, huge animals roamed amongst oleanders and magnolias. Biological species emerged and died out, but the rapid current of life wouldn't stop for a minute. With centuries, the climate has changed. Tree ferns were succeeded by saxaul, and gigantic animals gave way to great gerbils. Desert foothills are full of life, although it's low-key. Wandering around these slopes with a small light in the night, you can encounter the desert inhabitants. At times amusing, sometimes frightening, but nevertheless always interesting. Tarantula, the night hunter, is out on the search for prey. The careless grasshopper isn't suspecting the threat waiting behind the stone. Tarantula feeds on small insects, paralyzing them with its poison. The spider's sting isn't dangerous for humans, but can be rather painful and cause hypostasis, roughly as the bumblebee's sting. Walking stick completely justifies the order's name. Phasmids or stick-and-leaf insects. This particular individual, though quite scary-looking, is absolutely harmless. In critical situations, it can fall into catalepsy and stay still for a long time, disguising as a dry branch. Ozhan Nusupov, an old friend of Altai Zhankanbayev's, lives in the settlement of Kokhtal. Ozhan knows Jacques and Teria from A to Z and has participated in multiple expeditions as a guide. He didn't refuse to help this time either. The Auliagash elm grove in the valley of the Borokudzia River was planted in the end of the last century. Since that time, some trees have reached immense size. It's hard to say what is the precise age of this tree here. We simply don't know. Many people from the most different places come to see it as if it is calling them. They want to bow to it, express their most pious wishes, and ask to execute their cherished dreams. This tree is truly sacral and is well known across Kazakhstan and the neighboring countries. The country road winds along the river, rising higher and higher. With the elevation, the surrounding landscape changes also. Elevation zoning of northern and southern macroslopes of the Jungarian Alatau is almost the same, with minor exceptions. We are now in the south, climbing up the Borokudzia Gorge. We cross the upland foothill desert zone and then the steppe zone. The forest started after it. In the north, we didn't notice the desert zone, as if foothill steppes smoothly switched to mountains. In order to reach the mysterious Bell Valley, we need to cross two passes. Here and there the road is very picturesque. Traces of the spring flood are still visible. Thawing snow turns the Borokudzia into a terrible and deadly stream. We are now about 1,500 meters above sea level and have entered a narrow rocky gorge. Let's pray no counter-traffic appears. We still have to go about 3 meters to reach the pass. Before the pass, our vehicle breaks down. It started to smoke and the fire nearly broke out. The electric cable got overloaded due to the charging drone battery. The dashboard almost caught fire on the run. It started melting. We turned off all the additional equipment but couldn't take off the board itself. We need special keys to do that. In expeditions, at times you have to repair your vehicle using your intuition and makeshifts. 2 hours of work and our Rhine horse is back on track. The adventure continues. The air temperature falls as we continue moving upwards. We are now at the top of the Kayanditau ridge, enjoying the marvelous view of the intermountain Bell Valley. The mountain with snow caps on the opposite side is the Toksambai ridge. Hundreds of streams and small rivers flow down from the Toksambai ridge and merge, forming the Ayaktesaz River in its turn, giving birth to the Borokudzia River. In winter, the Bell Valley is covered with deep snow, but in summer, its lush pastures are ideal for distant pasture livestock breeding. When below everybody is sweltering with heat, it's nice and cool up here with almost no tiresome insects. The valley has been used for summer cattle grazing for several thousands of years, which is proved by numerous archaeological finds.
Мы находимся на Бель-Джайляо, это широкая межгорная долина.
We are on Beljailao, a wide intermountain valley on the southern macro slope of Jetesu Alatau. Previously, two large bulbals stood right here. Now one of them is gone. Many such huge stone columns can be found across the vast open spaces of the Great Eurasian Steppe, from the Danube to western Mongolia. The similarity of these symbols might indicate that once upon a time, these enormous open spaces were inhabited by a single ethno-cultural community. Ojan told us that this place is called Simtas, which means a rocky chain. Seniors say that earlier there were many more bulbals here. Their exact age is unknown. Scientists date the majority of similar menhirs to the period between the 3rd and 8th centuries of our era. Some researchers allege that in Turkic tribes, stone columns symbolize the opponents killed in honest combat. The more powerful a warrior was, the more such certificates of his past victories could be found near his grave. Commanders Bilgekagan and Kultagin are told to have 2 to 3 kilometers long bulbal alleys. Another opinion is that bulbals were erected to commemorate fellow warriors killed in combat. On the river bank, there is a monument in honor of the heroes of Obulat battle of 1643 against the Jungas. The actual battle took place 15 kilometers higher up the river, and wounded Kazakh soldiers were brought to the Jailao to rest and get help. Some of them died and were buried on this hill. From generation to generation, local shepherds passed the stories about 600 Kazakh Batars who fought against the manifold surpassing aggressor army. Long-tailed gophers, or as they're also called, Eversmans or Siberian ground squirrels, took fancy to the Bell Valley. These rather large rodents live in big colonies in mountain steppes at the elevation of up to 3,000 meters above sea level. They are tolerant to human presence, willingly inhabit areas along roads, and at times cause insignificant damage to agricultural crops. As a biological species, nothing threatens the long-tailed gopher as it is quite numerous and widespread. Within biocenosis, these animals play an important role as food for many species of predators, including rare ones, for example, snow leopard. Zoologists are taking effort to control the epidemiological situation in locations of gophers' mass distribution, as these rodents can serve as plague reservoirs. With pleasure, we took several pictures of these amusing small animals, but had to return to the main object of our search. Semirecha salamander or Jungarian triton. This very rare amphibian is endemic for Jetesu Alatau and is listed in the Red Book of the World Conservation Union as a rare and endangered species. Salamanders live in shallow streams along mountain rivers. There are quite many of them in the mountains, so it's not easy finding the one where tritons actually live. Salamanders, unlike frogs, can survive only in crystal clear water. And this is exactly the reason why they have remained only in such mountainous areas free of chemical and household pollution that comes with humans. Yet our long search did yield result. Having carefully surveyed the stream's upper course, the outdoor Kaiser team had finally found a young larvae, then cavia, and then several adult species. Tritons are capable of moving over dry land, although not for long distances, as direct sunshine burns its mucus cover. During the day, adult salamanders hide under stones or in earthen niches along water streams. They come out in the twilight to find some food. Tritons eat amphipods, caddisflies, earthworms, larvae of butterflies and bugs, as well as arachnoids. Females lay eggs in transparent sacs several centimeters in size and attach them to stones in flowing but not too fast-running water. One such laying usually has several egg sacs. It takes 1 month for eggs to mature, and then larvae up to 1.5 to 2 centimeters long hatch out. This small individual is an already grown larvae. It develops quickly and thus needs to eat strenuously, even if it has to be done during the day. Many arthropods lay eggs in water or on the surface of near-water plants. This is the triton's favorite dish. A Zygenidae moth is too careless, hovering above the transparent stream. It's not suspecting the threat awaiting its spawn should it decide to lay its eggs here. At nightfall, we get a chance to have a close-up on an adult triton. Altai is really eager to learn as much as he can about salamanders. What and how do they hunt underwater and on dry land? How far from a water body they can crawl? Here we have 2 adult species. One is light-colored and the other one is dark. Is it by accident? Does one color have an adaptation advantage over the other? Which way the natural selection is going? We can only speculate that the darker species is more adapted for life on the dark soil side of the stream, and vice versa the lighter one where there are more light-colored stones. Or perhaps the romantic dark pattern allows male species succeed in sexual selection. As a drop of water reflects the whole world, the answers to these small questions encode answers to the global questions about the human's place in our complicated and promptly changing world. It's unlikely that sometimes we will gain any economic benefit from these tiny amphibians, but the day when the last semi-rachis salamander dies will certainly be the black day for the whole humanity. We must take every effort possible to preserve each and every species, irrespective of how insignificant it might appear. In recent years, the semi-rachis salamander has turned into a small but already high-profile tourist brand. The number of people willing to eyewitness various endemic animal species living in Kazakhstan is increasing every year. The main slogan of ecotourism, primum non nocere, translated from Latin, means first, do no harm. The endangered species should be subject to very limited tourist pressure. Catching semi-rachis salamander, even only to take a picture, is strictly forbidden.
Мы с Алтаем всю ночь охотились фотоаппаратом на тритонов, а сейчас...
Altai and I have spent the whole night hunting for tritons with our cameras and are now enjoying the beautiful dawn. We are in the upper course of the stream in the Bell Valley located between the ridges Toksambai and Koyandetau. It's a very promising place for developing agrotourism. There are plenty of cattle and shepherds, and ecotourists could come here to see the semi-rachis salamander. Our night photo hunting was just fascinating. Ecotourism makes a good and reasonable combination with ethno-historical and cultural tourism. The Bell Valley has preserved the beauty of the traditional tenor of life. Each year it is a small museum, which with proper organization could be interesting for people wishing to see the diversity and authenticity of our world. It's necessary to create a small group of people directly engaged in the activities. We want to know how to attract clients, including foreign tourists. It would be great to buy a separate yurt for tourist purposes with the same internal setting as we have. Tourists could become equal participants of our everyday life. For example, as soon as they come, as it happened yesterday, they could immediately start learning and doing things themselves, like boiling water in the samovar, cooking food in the cauldron on open fire, grazing cattle, milking cows, etc., etc. In other words, they could be engaged in our actual daily activities. Foreign tourists, especially traveling on bicycles, started coming to the foothills of Jetesu-Alatau a long time ago. Usually they move very slowly because they are pulling a large load behind them. Once upon a time we met a foreign cyclist who looked very tired. We tried talking to her with gestures but practically didn't understand each other. Willing to help the woman, we, without thinking twice, put her and her bicycle in the back of our truck and gave her a 30 to 40 kilometers ride before the turn to our aul. We were really glad that we were of service and helped her a little. Imagine how surprised we were when, after saying goodbye, she went in the opposite direction. It turned out she wanted to cover the whole distance without any assistance. The valley of the Ayaktisaz River has presented the Outdoor KZ team with an absolutely unexpected gift. One night, a mysterious young man came to our camp. Hello, where are you from? Did you come from the lower aul? I saw you from the pasture nearby. I saw that you were filming something and decided to pay you a visit to learn who you are and what are you doing in our area. I want to ask you about one thing. Okay, could we have a look at it? Wow, it looks like new. In fact, it's not. When we found it, it was severely oxidized. We soaked it in sour milk and wiped with cloth. I found it on the Jailau on the opposite side of it, in the place called Aksu, in the upper streams of the river when I went there horseback. It looks like a real dagger. The question is when it was made. They don't make knives of such shape today. It's made of whole metal, look. Only the end part appears separate. The rest makes a single element. I think it's a Scythian or a Saka dagger. Indeed, I think that it's bronze, real bronze. We couldn't decide whether it was copper or bronze. It's definitely bronze. Bronze it is. But it's not just plain metal, because if it was, it would have corroded long ago. Judging by the overall look and the holes here, look here, please. The blade and the handle are integrated, except for this rivet here. Yes, it's riveted. It's obvious, right? If it's not fake but a real artifact, then it's between 7th and 3rd centuries BC. BC? Yes, which makes it about 2,500 years old. If specialists examine it, will they be able to confirm it? Definitely, we need to submit it for examination. Okay, Aga, good luck to you. Stay safe. Thank you. Have a safe journey. Say hello to your fellow villagers. I will. I will. Upon returning to the city, we consulted the professionals.
Мы обратились к эксперту-археологу в
We showed it to Murat Nurpiisov, an archaeologist expert working in the Center for Cultural Rapprochement in Almaty City. This exhibit here was kindly and confidentially given to us by a local, Aida, for examination by a professional archaeologist. Could you have a look at this object and assess its historical value?
Ну что ж, это кинак. Это боевой кинжал.
Well, it's an asenesis or a dagger, which means it's a fighting dagger. It's a weapon dating back to the Saka period. Every warrior would have one of those back then. In addition to being a weapon, it also served a sacred function. Such daggers were used to make sacrifices as well as in other ceremonial rites. Its shape is characteristic of the late Bronze era, the 7th century BC to be exact. The daggers of this shape were present throughout the whole Saka time up until the 3rd, 4th centuries of our era. Could you specify how widespread this type of weapon was among the Saka society? Was it only soldiers that had it, or every man would have it? Saka society can be described as military democracy. In modern terms, it means common ownership of weapons. Within the Saka society, the whole population constituted the army. Based on the works of our historians, we know that not only men, from teenagers to seniors, were considered warriors. Women also. Do you remember the legend about the Amazons? It's true, although it was misunderstood by Herodotus. It was customary for the Saka Scythian society.
Это часть сакского общества, часть скифского общества.
What an interesting world we live in, after all, where everything is connected to everything. History, nature, culture, landscapes, fauna and flora all represent different facets of a diamond, giving it the unmatched glow that it has.
Я работал в экспедиции, казахско-американской экспедиции.
Once I worked in a Kazakh-American expedition investigating Bronze Era monuments in the Asu-Tugan Plateau. There, in the place of a former settlement, we were able to dig out a well-preserved log. Our US colleagues identified it as juniper. It was so big that it couldn't have been compared to the elfin juniper woods or even shrubs that we have today. It came from a full-fledged juniper forest somewhere in the mountains of Tajikistan. It means that during the Bronze Age, about 22nd, 21st centuries BC, local climate was warmer. According to experts, the temperature was 4 degrees higher, which is a lot, and much more compared to only 1 or 1.5 degrees increase the current global warming concern is about.
Сейчас при всем шуме, который идет о глобальном потеплении климата, речь идет о градусе, о 1,5 градусах.
The magic of the ancient Saka was based on belief that everything in the sublunary world is interconnected. For example, the color of dawn shows the amount of harvest. Modern science does not believe in miracles, but it knows for sure that the intuitive guess of our ancient ancestors was right. It is true that in our strange world, everything is so closely intertwined by millions of invisible threads and the most incomprehensible links that it seems we will never manage to untangle them all completely. Embarking on a search of a little Triton, nature researchers unexpectedly bump into ancient history. Archaeologists make discoveries in the field of environment and climate change. Each of us, be it a professional scientist or an amateur tourist, can make a due contribution to and expand our understanding of life.